Hello everybody, welcome here to Musicians Edition. I'm Evan on the guitar here as always, and in this video I'm going to be showing you a new type of strumming pattern on the channel here. And if you've been following some of my recent videos, you know I've been putting up videos on strumming on the guitar and various strumming patterns. So we're going to talk about one that's a little bit different from the others. And in this video we're going to be doing one that is pretty common where you will be strumming the root note of your chord, followed by some strums where you're doing the full chord. So we're going to tackle this with a 4-chord loop that we're going to focus on here. That's going to be some of our caged chords over here, just so we can get the hang of this down. So we'll go ahead and pick our strumming pattern. We'll pick our 4 chords in the order for them, and we'll go ahead and give this a shot. So what we're going to do all together is going to sound like this. So on and so on. That's going to be our 4-chord loop that we're going to go ahead and play with this. So let's look at our strumming pattern first and how we're going to be using this root note with the full chord. So here is our strumming pattern we're going to use for this one, and it's going to be the same for every chord change and every full bar that we do here. So we're going to start with a down strum, and this is going to be just on our root note, and so the first chord we play is a G chord. So that's the chord I'm going to be playing as we show the strumming pattern here. So if you don't know the G chord, here is the diagram for it. And so I'll be playing the 3rd fret of the E string, 2nd fret of the A string right below it. Rest are open except for the high E where I'm on the 3rd fret there. So there, there, and there. Okay. So that is our G chord. That's going to be the first chord we start off with. So let's just stick with this one as we practice the strumming pattern. And so the first down strum is going to be just G by itself. Playing the 3rd fret on the low E is G here. So we're just going to play G by itself, and then we're going to come in with the full chord afterwards. So if counting and rhythm is unfamiliar and you're new to strumming patterns, I do recommend you check out some of the other videos on our channel that did cover that. But for this one, we're going to play the just G string on the 1. We're going to come in on the 2 with the full chord minus the G string. So just these 5 strings, not strumming the G string here. And so we're going to play this. So it's going to be 1, 2, and with the up strum on the and there after the 2. So 1, which is G, 2, which is down strum of those 5 strings, and then back up, nailing as many of those strings as we can cleanly play on the up strum. So all together we get like that. So just G, then those next 2 strums are going to be all of these strings except that low G. And then we play this twice on this G chord before we go on to the next chord, and that's going to be the same idea for all the chords we do. So we're going to all together play for that chord before we move on to the next one. And so what we're doing, if we fully count this out, and you can make sure you count it out with the ands in between, we're going to play on the 1, but not the 1 and. We play on the 2 and. We play on the 3, but not the 3 and. But we do play on the 4 and 4 and, so I can count this out. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's the idea here. So we can try to go faster as we just focus on this one chord by itself. It'll obviously get harder when we throw in those chord changes, but altogether a bit more full speed, we're going to get something like this, and I'll just stay on G for this. All right, so take a second to strum along with me here before we go on to those chord changes. So I'll count us in. 1, 2, here we go. And there we go. That is our strumming pattern. Let's go ahead and put this with these chord changes to see how it's going to change. And this will be our hardest part to put together, but we will get through it. So let's go ahead and look at those chords. So we got the strumming pattern. Let's get the chord changes down by themselves without doing the strumming pattern, and then we'll put it together. I just picked 4 common chords here to make it easy and applicable for you. So hopefully these are chords you're familiar with. We already talked about G. And our next chord after that is we're going to go to A minor. So A minor, we are not going to play low E. That's got the X up next to it, so we're not going to play that. We're going to play the A string openly. We're going to play 2nd fret of the string below that, 2nd fret again, and then 1st fret over here, and this high E is going to be played openly. So those 5 strings get played like that for an A minor. And our next chord is going to be C major. So another very, very common one. So again, we're not going to play low E. We will find our C note, which is our root note, on the 3rd fret of the A string. And then our next one we're going to fret is the string below. We're going to go to the 2nd fret right there. Skip a string, play this one openly. On the string afterwards, we play the 1st fret there with the high E again openly. So we're fretting with 3 fingers right there. For C major, hopefully a chord you guys know because it is very common. And our last chord is E minor. E minor, we're going to play all 6 strings. So low E is played openly. That is our new root note for this chord. We're going to fret on the 2nd fret here and the 2nd fret there on the A and D strings. And that is E. So what we want to do is just practice these chord changes with just some open strums before we go ahead and put the strumming pattern to it, just so we can get used to that. So we're going to go from G to A minor to C and to E minor. And we want to be able to do this loop back into G as well, since we're going to have a loop with this one. Back into A minor, back to C, and back to E minor. So go ahead and practice that as much as you need to so you do get comfortable and get a bit of muscle memory moving between those chords. I will go ahead and move on to putting the strumming pattern together with these chords so we can put this all together here. Alrighty, so let's put this together with our strumming pattern, starting with this G chord. So we already practiced it with the G chord. Let's go ahead and do that one more time. What's going to be, I'd say the most difficult part about this is your root note shifting from the low E, where we play G, but then our root note is now going to shift to the A string for the next one, then stay on the A string for C, and then come back up to E to play that final E minor. So that's a bit tricky to get down, but we'll get some practice with it and we'll get there. So G, and we're going to go ahead and get ready to move to A minor, and remember we're going to strum the A string for that root note. Go over to C, right there, and finish off on E minor. And that is going to be the idea of how we're going to do this. So let's go ahead and go through that one more time, and then we'll go ahead and add our timing to it so we can work on that. So nice and slow, starting with G, A minor, C, E minor. Because these are some pretty tight transitions, we're playing a 4 and then coming in again on the 1. It's a bit difficult to do, but to play that 1, all you need to do is strum your root note. So for example, from G to A minor, you don't have to have all your fingers set when you switch to A minor. You can just make sure you lift up, and just so you can play that open A while you get the rest of your fingers set there. So all you really need is that root note down on that tight switch from the 4 and of the previous chord into the 1 of the next chord. So I just need to lift off to play A, get the rest of my fingers set by 2, and then I can go ahead and play that. Same with the C. I just got to make sure I get my ring finger over to C quickly to play that. And to play this E, I'm not playing E anyway, so I just got to strum that and then get the rest of my fingers in position to be able to play the rest of that chord there. So that's kind of a trick to go along with this one. If you're struggling with those transitions, just focus on that root note first, and you can get the rest of the fingers to settle in place by the 2. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. I'll count us in. We'll go nice and slow and speed it up afterwards. But let's put this all together here so we can get this mastered down. So I'll count us in. 1, 2, here we go. Again. And there it is. That is nice and slowly played. Let's go ahead and do it a little bit quicker here. Go ahead and pause if you need to if you're still working at this pace, but I'll go ahead and just make it a little bit quicker on us. So starting with G, 1, 2, here we go. And there it is. So we put it all together here. We got our strumming pattern down with this new method of that root note with the full chord, with some pretty good chord transitions here working with the cage system. So it loops into some of the previous videos I've been putting up on strumming patterns and transitions between chords. So I do hope you found this one helpful. Have fun playing, and we'll see you next time.